the campus of Volunteer State Community College. This is Inside Politics.
Welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Nancy Hauskins. We begin our spring schedule the same way the 106th General Assembly did, discussing the extraordinary session for education reform called by Governor Bredesen. The session, which began January 12th, focused on reforming K-12 education and the state's higher education system. Today we'll look at K-12 and the bill titled Tennessee First to the Top Act 2010. Our guest today is Mance, Executive Director of the Tennessee Education Association. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule right now to be here with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, tell us a little bit, first of all, what the mission of the TEA is.
Well, TEA's mission is to promote, advance, and protect public education, the education professions, and the interest of our members.
Mm-hmm. And who does TEA represent? How many of our state's teachers and educators and whatnot are involved with TEA?
Well, we have over 60,000 teachers and administrators in Tennessee, and our membership is about 51,000. Mm-hmm. And that excludes any retired. There are another 10,000 or so retired members.
And before you came to the TEA, you were telling me briefly you worked in the education system in New York.
Yes. In fact, I taught on Long Island in the Long Beach City School District, and then I worked on staff for NEA New York. So
you're no stranger to education.
That's right.
Been in there for a little while.
Yes.
Well, the governor called the special session of the state legislature because of the application deadline for the Race to the Top federal grant. Can you give us a few details on what that grant is all about?
Well, the intent of the grant was to provide funding for states, and this is a limited number of states, and we've heard estimates anywhere from 4 to as many as 15 states. Monies who are making progress in what they call 4 assurance areas. And 2 of those areas are the use of assessment, and one has to do with putting quality teachers and administrators in every school, equitable distribution of high-performing teachers, and support of struggling school districts. There was originally $4.3 billion at stake that would be distributed among those who got the grants. We've heard in the last several days that the president is going to try to increase the amount to over $5 billion. And Tennessee can get anywhere from approximately $1.75 billion to $1.75 million to $485 million. It's my understanding that we've actually applied for over $500 million.
Wow.
So there's a lot of money at stake for this state if we can be successful.
And we were talking before the program a little bit. Change is nothing new to you, having worked with the TEA for 20 plus years. You said that there's been very few periods of downtime.
Yes. When I came, there was Governor Lamar Alexander's Master Teacher Program before the legislature. And then about 1991, we had the Comprehensive Education Reform Act, and now we have the Tennessee First to the Top of 2010. But between all of the legislative action, of course, and the next round of reform, you had to implement what had been in place before. So we had a career ladder program for about 10 years, and there are still teachers who participate in it, and we still have the Act of 1992 that's in place, and this will add to it.
What encourages you about this program over all of the other things that you've seen?
Well, I'll tell you, the big deal about this is the probability of getting money.
Right.
Okay, it's never comfortable for you to try to implement change quickly. No one is comfortable with change. Sure. We had one of the TEA presidents who used to say the only person who likes change is a wet baby. And there are some possibilities. The teacher evaluation system is going to have to be revamped. It's going to have to be streamlined. We are concerned about the use of student data in some ways, but we are also encouraged by the fact that teachers who are brought up on dismissal charges in local school systems will now actually have an impartial third party as the final arbiter.
Right.
And also in the new evaluation system, teachers will be able to appeal if, for instance, the data that is being used was not accurate or if the procedures were not followed.
Right.
There are other parts of the Act that we're going to just have to wait and see how they are implemented. You're never sure.
Right.
You are taking a chance.
Let's talk about that legislation in a little bit more detail. There were two areas of the First to the Top bill that received a lot of conversation, shall we say. One area, of course, dealing with the teachers' evaluations that you just mentioned. This legislation would tie 50% of a teacher's evaluation and tenure directly to student test scores. How is that different from the way they're evaluated right now?
Well, what's in the First to the Top bill does not tie student test scores directly to tenure. It ties it directly to evaluations. 35% of every teacher who gets what we call TVES data will have that data used in their evaluation, and then another 15% of the total evaluation will be based on other measures of student performance that will be decided by the teacher and the teacher's evaluators. That is something new. Yes. Now, it has been in the law for quite some time that local school systems could use what we call Sanders data, which is teacher effect data in evaluations. I think most times it was used informally. So now it will be used formally. It's been placed in the law that 35% of those teachers' data will be used in evaluation. So that is a big difference.
Sure.
Now, teachers are now evaluated formally at least twice every 10 years, but actually teachers are evaluated every other year. According to this legislation, teachers will have to be evaluated every year. But there is no way that administrators would be able to accomplish that if the evaluation system remains the same. The current evaluation system is pretty bulky, requires a lot of time and a lot of preparation on the part of both the administrators and teachers. So the evaluation system will change in that aspect.
Right. As a layperson on the outside looking in, it makes me wonder a little bit if we're looking at evaluating the teachers on test scores, how are you going to get teachers into those low-performing schools?
That's a good question. But the data as it's used now is not particularly designed to favor low-performing or high-performing schools. In fact, I think if you look at the record, teachers in low-performing schools will often get greater gains than teachers in the higher-performing schools.
True.
Now, that doesn't mean that it will always happen. It's just that if students start lower, they've got a greater distance to go, and many of them make more progress. They still may not get to the same raw score that students in the wealthier schools may get to, but they will move higher. Now, teachers in some of the wealthier schools can still do very well as far as gains are concerned. And I keep using the word gains because the scores that are going to be used are based on student growth from one year to the next. Well, if you get a student who comes in doing very well, who has high raw scores, a lot of teachers feel that they don't have a lot of room for that student to move. Well, the demand is going to be for those school systems to have more advanced placement and honors type courses so that those students can be stretched and can make greater gains. So, but I can tell you that at least in the beginning, it is going to be difficult for some school systems to convince teachers to go into schools where they believe the students are not as far along as they think they should be.